Dear parents, much is written and said about youth coaches, problems with youth coaches, the youth sports environment and so forth. Um, and as I watched a coach yesterday scream at a goalie, blame a goal on her, tell her it was her fault, tell her team was losing because of her, and then yell at another girl, what the hell are you doing? Um, this point crystallized because the parents didn't seem to have a problem with this coach and his behavior on the field. And until parents use the power of their wallet to advocate for change, these types of coaches and this type of coaching is going to continue. Ultimately, the power in youth sports is the wallet, is the money, is where parents put their players or put their children, into youth sports, whether based on the organization, the club, or the individual coach. And as long as everyone's caught up in playing for the most competitive team, or the coach with the best record, or the coach, with the most prestige, or any of these things, without taking into consideration the actual individual behaviors of the coach, the team, the program, the club, the organization, this type of coaching is going to persist and it's going to continue, and players are going to continue to become disenchanted and quit sports. Oftentimes because of the coach's behavior, either because just the abusive treatment, the overemphasis on winning at a really young age when players, that's not their prime motivation, negative coaching, any of these things tend to be reasons why children quit sports. And again, the way that we change these coaches, most people think it's through coach education. I tend to think that regardless of what certification you give or how much education you give to a coach, the real way that behavior will be changed is only when parents choose other programs, choose other coaches, choose other organizations. And as long as parents aren't willing to make that tough choice, these types of coaches, this type of coaching is going to persist. It's hard for a parent who's motivated to give, his or her son or daughter the best possible experience, and people say, oh well, this team's the best or this coach is the best. It's tough to go against that and to choose someone else. And I see that all the time. I remember hearing stories about one of my friends who's a pretty good youth coach, basketball coach in Los Angeles, and his players would get to 7th and 8th grade, and then they would all leave for quote-unquote better coaches or more competitive coaches. And then they would come back 3 or 4 years later when they were getting ready either to go play in college or when their careers were done, and come back and say, oh, well, we probably never should have left because, we went from team to team. We never found a coach, as good as you are. The grass is always greener. But I think the emphasis on trying to be competitive too early and trying to play for the most winning team and going to nationals and all these things that impact the choices that we make for children and in terms of teams and clubs and programs and organizations, especially with the youngest players, the primary choice needs to be based on how is that coach going to treat the players, what type of environment does the coach create, and then also how much playing time is that player going to receive, because it's great to be in a good environment where the coach treats everybody well, but if that player is not playing for whatever reason, then that also doesn't become a productive environment either. So again, those are the things that at really young ages especially, but even all the way through high school, at any level players should be treated well. But all the way through high school, these should be the main concern, is finding a place where the player is socially happy, in terms of having friends and good relationships with the coach and the other players, and then emotionally happy, and a lot of that is affected by the way in which coaches communicate with players, teammates communicate with each other, These types of things can have a big impact on a player's enjoyment of the activity. And if the player doesn't enjoy the activity, ultimately they're going to quit. So if we want to retain players in sports, keep players physically active, promote physical activity amongst children, we need to really work on creating the right environment for these children. And the biggest way that we can change the environment is the way that parents spend their money. Because when parents spend their money on programs that promote, a positive environment or a learning environment, coaches who care for players rather than just seeing them, as somebody who can help the coach win a game or get a new job or get a shoe contract or whatever. When coaches make these decisions, which oftentimes can be hard, that's how behaviors will ultimately change and organizations will ultimately change who and how they hire coaches. Because right now there's no incentive to change because everybody seems to be going towards, the most competitive or the most, and we look at coaching as, who yells the most or who's screaming, and if you're not yelling and screaming, then what are you doing as a coach? So if we want to change these behaviors, and I believe that we should want to change these behaviors, it has to start with how we spend our money and what coaches, basically what coaches do we pay, whether directly or indirectly through the organizations and the coaches that we choose.